Okay, so let's talk about compute. Compute, it's one of the driving factors um, for cost in AWS, and we're gonna see some of the compute services in AWS today. Okay, so
Okay.
the modules overview is compute services. The topics that we're gonna see: compute services overview, EC2, EC2 cost optimization, container services, Lambda, Elastic Beanstalk, right? Those are the services that we're gonna see. There's there's activities Amazon EC2 versus managed service, hands-on with AWS Lambda, hands-on with AWS Elastic Beanstalk, and there's a recorded demonstration of Amazon EC2, and there's introduction to Amazon EC2. That's the lab that you guys want to work on, all right? And the knowledge check for every single module. All right. Objectives: after completing this module, you should be able to provide an overview of different AWS compute services in the cloud, demonstrate why to use Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud, Amazon EC2, identify the functionality in the EC2 console, and perform basic functions in Amazon EC2 to pre-build a virtual computing environment, identify Amazon EC2 cost optimization elements, demonstrate when to use AWS Elastic Beanstalk, demonstrate when to use AWS Lambda, and identify how to run containerized applications in a cluster of managed servers. Okay, so let's see the compute services overview. Okay. So we have um, the compute services here in this section, and this module we discussed the ones that are inside the square. Okay, so we have in total we have all of these services. We have Amazon EC2, Amazon EC2 auto scaling. We have Elastic Container Registry, and when you see this guy ECR is the guy that you use to register or to save or to store the images of containers, right? So that's why it's called ECR, Elastic Container Registry. Okay. ECS is the Elastic Container Service. VMware Cloud on AWS, we're not gonna see that guy. Elastic Beanstalk, we're gonna see that guy. Lambda, yes, we're gonna see that guy. We're gonna talk about Elastic Kubernetes Service, EKS. Okay. We will see a little bit about Lightsail. We might see a little bit about Lightsail, which is a service that it is super good for startup business. You know, businesses to start a business, to jumpstart your business. Lightsail is the guy for that. Batch is for developers. AWS Fargate, right? It's a serverless compute container services. And AWS Outpost, we're not gonna see that one. And AWS Serverless Application Repository, we're not gonna see that one. Okay? So categorizing compute services. So we have Amazon EC2, Lambda, ECS, EKS, Fargate, ECR, and Elastic Beanstalk. Okay, key concepts. Well, guys, you know, and we think that we mentioned this already. EC2 is infrastructure as a service, right? You have control of the underlying infrastructure, right? And it's instance based. It means that you have to create instances when you work with EC2. And basically, when you create an instance, you're creating a virtual machine. Okay, a virtual machine. It's a computer in the cloud, right? EC2. So one moment, please. And also, you provision virtual machines that you can manage as you choose. Okay, guys, you know, you provisioning, you create them, you choose the operating system, you choose the security groups, the firewall, you choose the instance type, you choose a lot of things, right? And it's easy to use because it's familiar concept to many IT professionals. Well, the concept of virtual machine is very popular. It's very common among IT professionals, right? Now, AWS Lambda is a little new for many people. It's just a new concept that AWS introduced a while ago. Well, it has to do with serverless computing. So Lambda is just a competition of EC2 instances. You know, EC2 instances is a virtual machine and it's a server. Lambda can accomplish almost the same, and it has no server. It's serverless, which is more excellent. People are just moving towards serverless because you don't have to deal with servers or managing servers, provisioning servers, things like that, right? And it's function based because you have to create a function, right? Lambda is basically a function in languages. It could be in Python, Java, JavaScript, Node.js. It could be in Ruby, in Go. So all these languages that Lambda supports, you will create a function, just the way you create a function in programming, right? And it's low cost because you only charged when the function is run. If it is not run, then you don't get charged. Okay. What do you do with Lambda? Where you can write a deploy code that executes on a schedule, or that can be triggered by events. Lambda it's an event triggered function, like any function in programming. Guys, do you have any knowledge on programming? Anyone here that has knowledge in programming?
Some of them.
HTML, some basic JavaScript.
Okay, so you know that in JavaScript, when you have a function, when you have a method in Java, or a method in C# or a method in another language, for example, C++, and a function in Python, those guys are useless unless you call them. You can create a function or a method. If you don't call the method, nothing happens. Nothing happens. It's just code there that is there for nothing. Okay? Like, for example, if I have, let me see real quick here. So this is a class that I'm teaching in the morning. I'm teaching Python in the morning. I have a function, for example, here. Do I have a function here? No. Let me see if I have a function. One moment. Functions. Okay. So I have a function here that's just adding the two numbers. Very simple. Okay. So if I don't call this function, it would never perform any action. So I have to call it. It should be here. The call should be here somewhere here. I never call here. I have to call the function to be able, like here. You see, I'm calling this function. I have to call it, and then it will print optional this one. You see, the same with Lambda. If you don't call the function, it will never perform any action, right? So Lambda has to be triggered by an event to be able to do something, right? It could be a schedule, cron job in CloudWatch, and then at a specific time, you call the function, the target is the function, and then the function will stop an EC2 instance, or the function will start an EC2 instance. That's an example, okay? So Lambda is triggered by events, right? When possible, architect for the cloud. Use when possible, right? And it's relatively new concept for many IT staff members, but easy to use after you learn how. Guys, it's easy to use. The only thing that you have to know, because when you use Lambda, it is almost assumed that you are a developer, right? So you know about the code. What you have to do is just know how to code in AWS. Like what are the commands that you use in your function, right? Like you're writing a function in Lambda, for example, you have to know how Lambda works, right? Like, for example, here, let me show you real quick. I have some codes in Lambda here. Just one moment here. So terminate an EC2 instance. One moment. Create. This is not the guy. This is for the CLI Lambda functions. You see, Lambda function import JSON DynamoDB, and this is Python. Def Lambda handler, and then you say response type table.get item, and then that. So adding an item to a DynamoDB. So that's the way. You just have to implement what you know from Python and use it in AWS. That's the only thing that you have to do. So once you know how to do that, then it's gonna be super easy for you guys to create functions in Lambda. Okay, and they always have a purpose, right? They always have a purpose. Right? So I need to find it here. Probably I need to rename the things here so I can find them easily. Okay. This is for the CLI. Yeah. It's just, you get the ideas, guys. Serviceless Lambda. Okay, so I guess I would have to show it to you later, but that's how it works, okay? Now, Amazon ECS is container-based computing, instance-based. So all of these guys work with containers, but the one that works with instance-based is ECS, right? Fargate doesn't use any servers because Fargate is serverless. Okay, so ECS is using instance-based. EKS is for Kubernetes. Kubernetes is a third-party. It's a third-party container services, but AWS has this guy that supports that. And ECR is for registering or for storing the images of containers, right? You can spin up and execute jobs more quickly, right, with containers. Right? And I don't know if you guys understand the concept of containers. We're going to talk about that later. And Fargate reduces administrative overhead. Why? Because Fargate is serviceless, right? But you can use options that give you more control. Well, when you have more control, you can use ECS. Fargate is you have less control. Right. AWS Elastic Beanstalk is platform as a service, PaaS. Okay, EC2 is infrastructure as a service. Elastic Beanstalk is platform as a service. And it's for web applications mostly, web applications. What you have to do is focus on the code, build your application. You can easily tie into other services, databases, domain name server system, DNS, Route 53. You can work with those guys too. And it's fast and easy to get started. It's simple. Simple, you upload the code in Elastic Beanstalk, and that's all you need. Okay. Choosing the optimal compute service. Well, the optimal compute service or services that you use will depend on your case. You know, it all depends on you. That depends on your business. Depends on your needs, right? Now, some of the aspects to consider is what is your application design? So, you know, I need to understand your application. Can you tell me what's your design? You want me to build this for you. You want me to be your architect for AWS. So you have to show me what is the design of your application. What do you want to accomplish, right? Who's going to use it, okay? How many customers do you think are going to use this? What's the capacity that you need, right? Do you need to scale? Is it going to be scalable, right? How frequent or how frequently are your resources used? How do you want to go about configuring this, right? Now, if you select the wrong compute solution for the architecture, it can lead to lower performance efficiency. So you want to select the right sizing, you want to select the right service, because you want to have the best solution and the best efficiency possible. So let's understand some of the compute options that we have to be able to have a good start, right? And start with the right foot, or with the correct foot. Yeah. Well, an EC2 instance can be good for several things. So as you can see here, you have a list of servers, right? So your application, your EC2 instance can be an application server, right? Simple. You can have the code in that server. Okay. And by the way, I wish I have more time, guys, to show you how to install a SQL server, a MySQL server, in an EC2 instance. Okay. But I don't have time for that.
So you can't do it during lunch?
You can do it during lunch? What do you mean?
Can we do it during lunch, or does it take too long?
It may.
Or could you?
It may, and I need to fix my problem with my account. I cannot log in. You saw that? So I have to sync. This is my MFA is not working properly. So I need to fix that.
Hello, sir. Or could you do it like just record it on your own time and then just post it in YouTube like you do the other videos, and then we can watch it at not necessarily
yes,
own time.
I have to set up that because I pay for a service that I could record my videos, but now I don't have that service anymore. So I don't have a way to right now to record sessions.
No, just make another live stream.
I'm sorry?
Just make another live stream.
Yeah, live streaming is a little more tricky because I mean, if I made a mistake, it will count against me. I want to get ready before I do that. You know what I mean? I have to, because when you live stream, you want your video to be as flawless as possible. So you don't want to make mistakes during the video.
Oh, it helps me to troubleshoot. If I can see if somebody else make a mistake, I can figure it out too.
Yeah. Whereas when you do it, it's a recorded video. You can just delete the part that you made a mistake, edit it, do that, and then it's much better. But in a live video, if you made a mistake, that's not good. I don't see it like a benefit, right? And things happen because sometimes things happen, and maybe you can encounter a problem that you would not be able to solve during the entire live session, because problems, happen. Right now, imagine if I just improvise and I try to stream a video, and then when I'm gonna log in, I can't. You see what happened? I couldn't log in, which didn't happen before the class because I logged in before the class, and now I can't. It happens. Okay. But I tried to do that just like I did. If you take a look at my videos, you see that I recorded several things myself, like creating a dead letter queue or creating an elastic load balancer with some EC2s that are registered the elastic load balancer and achieving a single point of entry. I have several videos that I posted on YouTube. But at that time, I was paying for a service yearly that let me record with high quality videos. But right now I'm not paying for that service. So I have to look for another alternative to do that. And to be honest, I haven't been interested in doing that. That's why I don't have an alternative solution at hand right now. So I have to think about it. If you guys know something that is affordable and it's not, expensive to pay, then let me know. Or if you find something that is free, it's even better, right? To record videos. Okay, because I'm not into that right now. When I get into it, I look for the way, but I'm not into that right now. I'm just recording the videos that I see here that we do in class, like this. Okay, but it's a good idea. It's a good idea. Okay. So let me see if during lunch I can fix my problem, and I try to get everything set up, but after lunch, I dedicate 10 or 15 minutes to do that. Let's see what happens. All right, so, well,
you.
yes. So application server, you can have a web server as well. You can install Apache. I don't know if I did I did it in this class. I'm not sure. If I gave you a demonstration how to create an Apache server and display some content in the browser. Did I do this in this class?
I don't think so.
Okay. That's something that I can do too. Okay. Database server. Well, yes, I'm just telling you, you can install a MySQL server in an EC2 instance. Game server, a mail server, a media server, a catalog server, a file server, computer server, proxy server. Okay. There's something called a bastion host. A bastion host is a very common, popular thing in networking and in IT world. Okay, AWS has something called bastion host. Let me see. I have it here because I have all the information saved here. Bastion host. Bastion host. So AWS has this guy here, and then if you there's something that AWS has is the quick start guide right here, where they have templates already created in CloudFormation that the only thing that you have to do is click on it, and it takes you to. But I cannot log in. So let me see if it lets me log in now. Let me try again. See what happens. It doesn't let me. Okay, I can't. So it takes you to CloudFormation, and then, but first you have to create a VPC, right? Launch quick start for existing VPC or a new VPC. Okay, so this will create a bastion host in your public subnet, right? And then a bastion host is like a proxy server that it's an extra layer of security for your EC2 instance, right? So you can come so you can have this guy here, and then when you launch it, it will create a bastion host. With the bastion host, you can log in into a private subnet, a database, so many things that you can do with this. I was able to create a private instance in a private subnet. A private instance doesn't have a public IP, so it would not be able to connect to the internet. But with a bastion host, I can log in into the private instance and download things from the internet. Okay, because I have a NAT gateway, and the NAT gateway is what happens with the NAT gateway. It will translate the private IP of your private instance into a public IP, and then your private instance can communicate with the internet. No one can communicate from the internet with the private instance, but you would be able.
Hello?
One moment, please. There was someone knocking on my door. And then no one, when you have a private instance, like without a public IP, no one can communicate to your private instance from the internet, but your private instance through the NAT gateway, can communicate with the internet. But for you to be able to log in into your private instance, you need to have, one of the ways is to have a bastion host. Okay, bastion host will let your instance to be logged in into. Okay, so that's the way that you can do that. I don't know if you understand the mambo jumbo that I just told you guys. Remember when we saw, did I show you the image? We created this image last week, right? It was in this class, right? It was in this class, right? This image here?
Yeah, we did that.
Yes. So here, right, I'm going to have an instance here that's in a private subnet, right? So the instance is right here. The instance here doesn't have a public IP. So it cannot, no one from the internet can communicate to my private instance. But my private instance through the NAT gateway, can communicate to the internet and download patches, upgrades, updates, and all that, right? So what I was able to do is create a private instance, and through the Bastion host, I could log in my private instance, and through the NAT gateway, I could download my SQL server, right? So that's possible. And then I had a MySQL server in my virtual machine, and then I could see my databases, my tables, the things that I created inside an instance, an EC2 instance. Okay. The problem is when you try to connect to a Workbench, for example, Workbench will ask you for the host, and there's no public IP here. So it's kind of hard to connect to Workbench. Now, if it is an application that has a public IP, right, then it's easy to communicate EC2 instance with Workbench, or it can be with dbeaver. I also use dbeaver, right? dbeaver for databases. dbeaver is super cool. I like it. I like it because I can, I have a database here, MySQL, in my computer. If I take a look at this, right now I have my SQL server here that is installed in my Mac computer, right? And then I can query my databases from dbeaver. I can have Workbench, but I like dbeaver more, okay? So I can just simply do this and print these guys here. And of course, I'm hashing the password here. The password is hashed. This is only pass. This is the word pass. Can you believe it? This is the word pass, just P-A-S-S, and it's hashed like this. So I did this from Python. From Python, I was able to send the password to the database, hashed it, and then be able to compare it when someone logs in, compare this guy with whatever the customer enters or the user enters. So this is the server that I install in my Mac computer. So it's local. I'm not going to be charged anything, because if I do it in AWS from RDS, I may be charged for storage. Okay. I prefer to do it in my computer, so I can start or stop my server whenever I want. I can stop it from here, just stop my server, and that's it. Just put my password, and my server will be stopped. Okay. Stop now. Or I can start it again. Just put the password again, and it goes back to work. Okay. Simple as that. And then I can try my database. I can work my database, and this could be better. Okay. All right. So EC2 overview. Elastic Compute Cloud, EC2 is called EC2 because it has two C's, the C for compute and the C for cloud, and then EC2, right? It provides virtual machines referred to as EC2 instances. Guys, that's like I said, I think someone from this class or from another class asked me if it is an instance like an object-oriented programming, like an instance from a class. No, they just call a virtual machine an instance, right? When you create a virtual machine, an EC2 virtual machine, that's called an instance. That's it. It's an instance of an EC2, right? EC2 instance. As it is infrastructure as a code, it gives you full control over the guest operating system, Windows or Linux, on each instance. Right? You can launch instances of any size into an availability zone anywhere in the world. Okay? You can choose the region you want. Okay. Now, launch instances for Amazon Machine Images, guys. This is the first thing that you have to do when you are going to create an instance, is to choose the AMI. The AMI is the template that contains the software, the operating system, the install packages, all the dependencies that your virtual machine, your EC2 instance, needs to start, right? And to be launched, right? That's the Amazon Machine Image. And that is just a few clicks. I would say it's like probably 7 clicks to get your EC2 instance running. 7 clicks if you want to go through all the steps. If you want to launch it, I think that after the 3rd step, you can just launch it. That's it. It will select the default VPC. It will select the default security groups. It would select the default everything, right? And then you can launch it. You can launch an instance with a few clicks or a line of code, or actually you can do this with a few lines of code. And let me see here real quick. And I think is okay. See, I have it here. One moment. I think I have it somewhere here. It's just CloudFormation template. Just give me 1 second. It's right here. Okay. Okay. So I can have this with a few lines of code, right? I can create an EC2 instance right here, right? An EC2 instance. I can create a security group. I can create outputs here. So this is CloudFormation, okay? CloudFormation is a template to create resources in AWS. I can use the function ref to refer to the instance type, which is here.
I'm sorry, I think I missed something. How did you get this?
I created this. I created it. This is on my own doing. I created this, right? This is a CloudFormation template. When I click on this, you see, to create the Bastion host, this is something similar to what I have here. This is a template, right? And with the template, when you put it in CloudFormation, when you upload it in CloudFormation, CloudFormation will just run this code for you in YAML. YAML is the extension. YAML is YAML ain't markup language. That's what it stands for. And CloudFormation understands this notation, and it will create the resources for you, and then you're going to have an EC2 instance with a few lines of code, right here. EC2 instance, right here. That's the type, right? That's it. And you can control traffic to on from instances through the security groups, okay? The security groups are the firewalls of your instance, okay? Now we have here the dashboard of EC2 right here in the management console. So this section of the module walks you through 9 key decisions to make when you create an EC2 instance by using the AWS Management Console Launch Instance Wizard. Okay, so this is of course, this is the old dashboard. Okay, this is not the same as now. Now we have a new one. If you take a look at your account and you open the EC2 dashboard, it's not going to be like this one. This is the old one, the old looking one. Okay? Now, the first thing that you have to do is choose the AMI. It says here's the template that's used, with the virtual machine or VM that runs in the AWS cloud. So that's the template. You choose the AMI, you launch the instance. There's different ways that you can find the instance. It's the quick start. It's just the first step of when you say launch instance, you click here, launch instance. The first thing that you get is the quick start. Okay. And then you can choose the Linux, Windows AMIs that are provided by by AWS. You can choose Windows, you can choose Linux, Ubuntu, you can choose Red Hat, Amazon Linux. So you have different AMIs there. Another section which is in the same place, it's just like a sidebar. You can see the quick start and then my AMIs. Is the AMIs that you created. And how to create an AMI? By just clicking or right-clicking on the volume of the EC2 instance, and then you can create an AMI from the instance. Just in case you want to use the instance of the AMI in another region, what you have to do is just create one and copy that image in another region. I cannot touch my mouse. That's why is this happening. Okay. On the marketplace has some pre-configured templates from third parties that you can buy from there. They're not free. You have to buy them. And also the community AMIs, which is AMIs shared by other people. And then you have to be careful because you don't know what they have inside, so it's at your own risk. Okay. So what is the most recommended one? The Linux, the quick start, right? And the my AMIs, right? My AMIs is just the ones that you choose from quick start, and then you create your own ones. You just give it a name that you want, and that's it. So creating a new AMI, right? Well, you come here, you have the import the AMI, you have the quick start. This is where you find it, right? You can use my AMI to start an instance, right? Oh my God. Right? And then you choose to install an instance, to launch an instance. You can use the start AMI, the quick start, or you can use your AMIs, whichever you have, right? Then you launch the instance, the AMI is now modified. So you connect to the instance and manually modify it or run a script that modifies the instance. For example, upgrade instance install software. So you can install the software if you want to upgrade it or install something specifically, or run it and install a software like an Apache server, for example, right? Then the image becomes a modified image because you install something in that version machine. Right? Now, what you can do is you can capture as a new AMI, right? So you can make a new AMI from this one, from the modified one, which is not the same as the unmodified one. It's a new image because it has something installed already, right? So now that you have an AMI, a new AMI, if you want to use it, let's say that you are in Northern Virginia, US East 1, and then you want to use it in Tokyo, right, in another region, what you have to do is copy that to the new region, and then you can use it there to create an instance in Tokyo, for example. Okay.
So let me ask you, if you make a change within an instance and it's a copy, does it affect the other copy or just only that one?
Does it affect the other copy? What other copy?
So you're making a copy of the instance.
Right.
So if you do a change in one, does it affect the other?
You mean the other instances?
Yeah.
No. This is just specifically of this instance only. Okay. you have an instance that doesn't have an update like this one, install software, and you have one that has it, you make a copy of the one that has it, the other one has nothing to do with it. Making a copy of the instance doesn't affect anything. It's just a copy, right? It's the copy. It's like now you want to make a copy of a piece of paper. It would not affect another piece of paper. It just gets a copy from the one that you have, right? I don't understand your question quite well. Can you elaborate more on that? Because a copy doesn't affect anything. A copy is just a copy, right? The reason why the copy is because it's the only way that you can create that same instance in another region. Don't forget that EC2 Instance are a regional service, right? They only work in a region, right? And I would say more than regional is a zonal service. It's only for availability zones, right? Now, if you want to use the exact image in another region, you will have to copy the image to another region. And then from there, you can create an instance, because you can create an instance from an image, right?
Sir?
Go ahead.
Guys, just to be clear, when he says image, he means a template.
Yeah.
An image is a template. That's
Yes.
what he means.
Yes, I said it here. It's a template. Okay. The image is the template that contains the software, contains the operating system, contains the install packages, contain everything that is being installed is in the image. So with that image, that's the very first step to create an instance. You have to select an image. Without an image, you cannot have a virtual machine. Okay? Guys, have you ever created a virtual machine in VirtualBox?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, what do you need to create the virtual machine? Other than the VirtualBox, what else do you need?
The operating system.
The operating system.
The ISO. The ISO.
Yeah, you need the ISO image, right? It could be Ubuntu, it could be CentOS, it could be Windows, whatever you're doing, you know? You need that image to upload it to the VirtualBox or VMware, if you're using VMware, right? Actually, I'm using VMware. If I show you here, you see this is a VMware, right? I have my virtual machine here, right? This is my virtual machine. It's running now. It's opening. Okay. I have my virtual machine there. And I had to download an Ubuntu image to be able to start my virtual machine. You need an AMI, right? Once you have the AMI, I promise, during lunch, I'm going to fix this problem that I have with MFA, and I'm going to show you. I always show you guys everything that I do, but I feel like something is missing. You know, like something is missing. I always give you a demonstration of everything that I do. Everything that I do. I cannot tell you this is incomplete, but I have this problem right now and I don't have time to fix it because I don't actually know what's happening.
Professor,
so I wanted to show you this. After lunch, I'm gonna do this. Just remind me. I'm trying to fix it during lunch. Let's see if I can fix it.
Hello, Professor.
I'm sorry?
I noticed when you were typing in your password, your characters were only 4 characters. I thought maybe that might be the issue with your login, when you were trying to log in, because it's usually has a minimum of 8 from when I go into the console. So I don't know.
Well, I have recorded. I have the password is already there. I always use it. Sees. So.
Yeah, is it? I thought it was longer than that. Maybe.
I don't even remember what password I used for this, to be honest.
Could also be the resolution on my screen too. Yeah,
Well, it is. It was. Thank you. Appreciate that.
no problem.
Nice. Okay. So, EC2, right? So I don't have any instance running here. I'm in Northern Virginia, right? So I want to create an instance. The first thing that when I create an instance is choose an image. It's right there. And this is the quick starts, right? It's right here, quick start. So here I have a bunch of images. I want to choose the free tier only, right? I have the free tier here. All the images, a Windows machine, an Ubuntu machine, a SUSE Linux machine, Red Hat, Amazon Linux. You know, people tend to use this one because it's from Amazon, and I'm gonna choose that one, okay? So the second step that you can do, well, actually you can launch the instance right now. I just click here, preview on launch, right? But I will continue, right? I'm gonna choose, I'm going to install an Apache server, okay? I'm going to install an Apache server. So I'm gonna say HTTP, sorry, bin bash. This is a script, right? A bootstrap script, right? I'm gonna say yum. I want to update, right? Update before I do anything. And by the way, this is CentOS. Okay, it's a distribution in Linux. That's why I'm using yum. Okay, so now I'm gonna say yum install y. Y says gonna say yes to every single question that they asked, right? And I'm gonna say HTTP. Okay, I'm gonna install Apache. Now I'm gonna say system CTL. I want to enable the service, right? And I want to CTL. I want to start the service. Okay. And now I want to just say echo, like Linux echo, open an HTML thing, right? And say a tag H1 as a heading, and say hello from my server, right? I close the tag for HTML, and then close this quotation. And now I'm going to redirect that to var. This is a folder that's created. When you install the Apache server, this folder is created inside. This one is created too. And this one is created too, right? And now inside HTML, I'm gonna just create an HTML file, and I'm gonna call it index. But in index, I'm going to put this inside. I'm gonna echo this in index with an HTML format, okay? So that's gonna show in my browser, it's gonna show hello from my server, okay? Let's see if it works. Continue. Storage, same thing. Tagging, I'm gonna call it my web server, right? Web server. Just a tag to identify later, right? The security group, I'm going to create one. I'm gonna call it my Saturday class security group. Right? I'm gonna use that as a description, same thing, but I'm gonna use separation between words. I cannot use different words here, it doesn't let me, okay? I'm gonna let SSH open, port open, because this is for logging into my my instance, right? I need to leave this port open. I'm gonna open port 80, which is HTTP, to be able to access it from the web, right? And this means that every single IP in the world can access my account. This is not good, right? I should use a range here, but maybe I can use my IP only, right? That's my IP only. No one else can use it. Okay, let's see what happens. So, and then this one is good because this is from the world. Everybody can access this via the web. Okay? I'm gonna review and launch, right? Everything is fine. I'm gonna launch it. And now I'm going to select this key that I created, right? Because, well, let me create a new key, guys, for you to know how to create a key. I'm gonna create a key and then I'm gonna call it my Saturday key. This is the key that allows me to SSH into my instance. I can log in into my instance with this key. This is the only way, okay? My Saturday key pair, right? It's a key pair with a public and a private key. I download it. It's gonna be here in my computer. I launch the instance, boom, and the instance is launched, okay? So I can just put this in my, here, right? Good. So my instance now is fine. I can see my instance here that has been in pending status. Let's see if it works. You see here the tag that I put. Okay. Should be running right now. Now, if I grab the public IP of my computer, my virtual machine, and I put it here, I don't see anything. Let me take a look at something here. I need to see something here. All right. Let me check if the code that I used is correct. And in the meantime, I will give it some time for that to load, because sometimes it takes time. What happened? Okay. Sometimes it takes time. Oh, it's right there. So perfect, right? You see? It's perfect. I can see it in my browser. Can you see, guys? Guys, can you see it?
Yes. Hello
Okay.
from my server.
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
Yes.
So I can come to the CLI now and try to log in into my account. Okay. So now I'm going to log in into my account, right? So the first thing that I have to do is see my key, if it is there. So it's my Saturday. It's right here. So the key's there, okay? I have to give permission to the key because the key by default doesn't have permission, okay? So I have to say chmod, that's a command that says change mode in Linux, and then my Saturday key. Now the key has permissions, okay? I'm going to SSH into my instance, okay? So I'll say SSH I, and then the name of the key, right? And then I'm gonna say EC2 user, right? And then I'm gonna use the public IP of that guy, right? And I say yes, and I'm logged in my account. So I'm inside the instance now. I logged in, right? This is the way that you log in into the instance by using SSH I with the option I, and then the key that you downloaded, EC2-user at the public IP of your instance, which is this one, right? Now, if I just cd var, which is the folder that's created, var is there. If I do cd, I do ls, I see that there's a www folder that was created for me, right? It's right there, right? Now I'm gonna navigate to www, and then if I do ls, I see that there's one HTML here. And then if I navigate to HTML, I see ls, and the index.html file was created there. Now I can nano into the index, nano text editor to edit that, right? Of course, I don't have permission. This says it's unwritable. So it means that I have to become a root user to be able to use it, So I can become a root user, sudo I I became a root user. It says root here. Before it was EC2 user, now it's root, right? Now, instead of going var www HTML, I just go straight to there and say var www HTML, right? I'm there already. I do nano index HTML. Now I can do something. I have permissions. So I'm going to separate this guy from the other guy, right? And now I can say another heading. The bigger the number, H2 is going to be smaller than H1, okay? How about that? Right? Close the tag, and then I can just save that. Sorry. Is Control O, save it, right? Now, if I do this, I get something else. You see? Now I can say H3, right? Are you happy? Close H3, save it again, Control O, and then are you happy, right? So I'm inside my instance, okay? Now I can just say, put some color in here. So I can say here, say style. If you know HTML, you know what I'm doing, okay? Style, and say color, red. I can come here, say style, color, blue. And I can say here, style, color, green. Right? And I can add something here, say button, right? Click me for a surprise. Right? And close button. Control O, save. And before I do that, I want to put a break here. I don't want the button to show next to are you happy? So I'm going to put a break, line break, right? Save it. And then if I just refresh, I get a button here. Okay, so that's a web server in an EC2 instance, right? So I could log in into my EC2 instance. I could change things here, right? I could, from the website, I could put my public IP and get this information, right? So this is port 80 and this is port 22. That's why my security group, which is a firewall to my EC2 instance, I can open, close ports to allow or restrict access into my instances. That's the firewall. But I can log in into my instance because I open port 22. I can see my browser because I open port 80. If I open port 80, no one can see this. My page will be hanging forever. Okay? You know what I mean, guys? You guys
What do you
understand?
mean by hanging?
Hanging, I'm going to show you what hanging means. Just give me 1 second, I will tell you what hanging is. I'm going to come to my security group, and then I will change the inbound rules, and I will delete HTTP, right? I would delete HTTP, okay? Let me save it, right? That's what hanging means. See, you see here? You see it's loading? Can you see it? It's loading.
Yes, yes.
It will be hanging there forever until it times out. Why? Because I closed port 80. So no one can access my account from the web. No one. It will time out soon. Okay? That's what it means.
Question though.
Go ahead.
Why is that inbound rule not an outbound rule?
Because when we see security groups, we're going to see that security groups are stateful. It means that whatever that comes in goes out. You don't have to work on the outbound rules.
Ah, okay.
All
Okay.
the traffic that comes in is allowed out.
I remember that.
Okay. So now I'm going to select here HTTP. I will put it back to what it was, right? Right? And just here, everybody. And then I will do this, right? And now, when I just do this, boom, back again. Because I open port 80, right? So I hope you guys understood this little demonstration. Okay.
Excuse me, Professor. Yes, I have been checking it with on my browser, and it works properly as you were setting any changes. So after this, you have to go to the Amazon route 53 to do some settings also to not use the IP address, but instead website name.
Well, first of all, you have to select Elastic Load Balancer. Okay, an Elastic Load Balancer. Let me create real quick an Elastic Load Balancer. Okay. So an Elastic Load Balancer, I'm going to create a classic one. Okay, a classic one. So I'm going to call it ELB. ELB Saturday class. Okay. It's going to listen in port 80. Okay, listening in port 80. So security group, I'm going to create one for the Elastic Load Balancer. I'm going to say ELB security group. Okay. Now I'm going to say is HTTP as well, because the Elastic Load Balancer is going to be in the internet there. Settings, this is fine. Now I'm going to register the instance that's going to work with the Elastic Load Balancer, tagging, and I'm going to create the Elastic Load Balancer. Okay. Now, if I just get the DNS that they give me, and I post it here, I don't get anything. I still get this, right? So, still have this Elastic Load Balancer instances because my instance still in the process of re-register. Say instance registration is still in process. Once it's registered, by using the DNS of the Elastic Load Balancer, I will be able to see the same thing as the instance. Okay, so let us wait for this to be in service, right? Still, you see, still out of service. So it's waiting for that to progress and finally create that instance. Okay, out of service. Still. Well, in the meantime, guys, let me show you how to create a copy of the instance in another region, like I promised that I would show you. So now here, I can come to the volume. So here, you can create an image from that, right? So let's create an image from this particular. Remember that the image that was before was on a modified image. Remember that it didn't have the web server. Now it has a web server, it's a different image, right? I'm gonna create an image, right? From here, I'm gonna call it my image, and this is gonna be in my image, my AMI section, okay? Now the image is gonna be like this, the volume is gonna be the same, and create the image, okay? Now the image, if I come to my images here, AMIs, you're gonna see that this image is being created. Okay, this is my image. So now if I do this, I see this. This is the last load balancer, see? That's the last load balancer. But I have a problem. If I can see here from my instance, and I can see from the last load balancer, my question is, what is the point of the last load balancer?
Is to remember more, to use a more easy to remember name instead of an IP address.
But do you think that this is easier to remember than
no.
this? Okay.
No, but
so,
maybe you can customize it, right?
If I use it this way, the last load balancer doesn't make sense. Okay? Because I create the last load balancer to achieve a single point of entry. What I want is a single point of entry, right? So everybody that comes to my instance has to come through the last load balancer. I don't want anyone to come straight to my instance. I want everybody to come through the last load balancer. Okay? So what I have to do is come here to the security group. Let me come to my instance, right? Guys, and this is all about firewalls, right? This is all about security groups to allow access, right? So let's come to my security group of my instance right here, security, my instance, my security class group. And then I'm gonna inbound, just choose the inbound rules I want to edit them. Guys, you see here that everybody from the internet, any IP address from the internet can access my instance. You see here? You see here?
Yes.
Yes? It means that anybody, it doesn't matter what IP address, they can see my instance. Right? And I don't know why this is hanging. It's not supposed to hang. Okay, let me grab this. I don't like this. What's going on here? It's not supposed to hang here. Hey, what is going on here? Was my instance deleted or something?
On my side, it's fine.
Yeah, on mine is fine too. Mine is fine.
I'm fine too.
No, it just scared me because it's not supposed to do that. Okay, now you see here, I'm not gonna let anyone from any part in the world to come directly to my instance. What I have to do is just delete this and put the security group of the load balancer. This one. Okay, so now nobody can come to my instance. Nobody, only the last load balancer. So I'm gonna save this, and now if I do this, it will be there forever until it times out. So try that in your computer, and you will see there's gonna be hanging forever. Okay, and now the last load balancer has a purpose, and is the single point of entry. Okay, I don't know why it's giving me this problem here. You see, it's gonna be hanging there forever, and the last load balancer is not working. I don't know why. I changed the Saturday security group, and that's fine. That is fine. And let me call my last load balancer. It's out of service again. Why my instance out of service? It has failed at least the threshold number of health consecutive. Okay, let me register the instance again. Okay. Let me register the instance again. Instance has failed. Okay. It doesn't matter. I have a copy of my AMI. You see, I have a copy of my AMI. I can delete the instance very easily. right? I can come here and delete my instance. Just delete my instance. And I can create one more instance with my AMI here. Okay, my AMIs. With the instance, this guy has, it already have the Apache server installed. Let's see what happens. I'm gonna select the one that I created before, this one. I'm gonna review and launch. And then let's see. Spending now. You see it's still hanging there, right?
Is this information cached on the browser? May that be the problem?
This one?
Yeah, is it?
No, it's not.
It's not cached, so.
No, it's not. If it is not open, it's not open.
Question.
Go ahead.
Is it because you're trying to make a copy of the image?
Um,
Instance? You're trying to make a template with instance. Would that freeze the instance?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Probably I should have stopped the instance instead of just keeping it running. This is not working. This is not going to work. Okay. Well. Okay. All right. So the problem is that I installed the server at runtime. It was not pre-configured or installed in the image. I installed it in the machine. So the machine is gone, the server is gone. Okay. So I would have to go ahead and install it in my new machine. So I can come here, stop the instance, right? And when the instance stops, then I can go ahead and add that guy. But it's not the same as creating the instance again. Let's see if it's picked it up. But sometimes in the past, it hasn't. Okay. So let us wait for that to be stopped. Okay. Well, in the meantime, it stopped. Okay. Let me go ahead here and come to instance settings and come to user data, right? In the user data, I can say, like I did before, right? Bin, bash, and then say yum, y, update, and then say yum, install, y, httpd, and then system, the CTL, enable httpd, and system, CTL, start httpd, right? And you say echo, okay, and say hi. Close this, redirect it, var, www, HTML, index, HTML. Okay, same thing as we did before. Okay. Then I save it. I run the instance. Well, I will reboot the instance. I cannot reboot it. I have to start it. Okay, so starting now. Let's wait for that. It will be running in no time. All right, in the meantime, I can come here and copy my AMI and copy the AMI to another region. So I can say copy AMI, and I want to put this in Europe, right? Because I want to create it in Ireland, I want to create an instance exactly the same as this one. So I just copy the MI and it will show in Ireland. Okay. Right now, if I go to Ireland, I cannot see this because images are regional. They only show in the region where they were created. Okay. The instance is running. Let me see if it was installed. Go back to settings, user data, and it's there. Okay. So now what I have to do is just grab the IP address and see if it works. It may not work because it hasn't worked before. Okay, but I'll try. See, it's hanging because it's not the same thing as create, launch it, and then stopping and start it. You see? Okay. So it will hang there forever. What I have to do is just come here, copy this guy, come to the instance, terminate it. What if I reboot it? Would it work? Let me reboot it before I go ahead and create another instance. Okay. So I'm gonna launch another instance real quick. And then it just, you know, almost skip through the process, right? And then security group, select one, the one that I created today. Okay. Okay, not a problem. So now I'm going to launch that guy. And let's wait for that to run because I have to register to the last load balancer. Okay, so I'm going to terminate the other one. I'm going to terminate this one. I don't need it anymore. And then this one will be pending. Should be running now. Almost there. So should be running in no time. Just waiting for it. Okay, it's running now. Let me see. Still initializing here. Okay, so let us wait for that to finish initializing. I don't want the last load balancer to have conflicts with this because if it is not initialized, yes, it has to pass 2 checks. When it passes it, I will register it in the last load balancer and see what happens. Right now, the last load balancer doesn't have anything, so it's not showing anything, but it will show later. Okay, let us continue with this. So guys, you see this, you understand this already? So let's continue with this. So now we have the instance type. Well, you saw that I chose the instance type T2 micro. Is the very first step of your instance when you create the instance, right? When you launch the instance, the second step after selecting the AMI, you have to select the instance type, okay? Depending on your needs, what capacity you need, how much memory you need, instance store, network performance, virtual CPUs, what do you need, right? That's the second step. We're choosing T2 micro, which is the one that is included in the free tier, okay? So it's the type that choose determines the memory, processing power, network performance, the different part types, general purpose, compute optimized, memory optimized, storage optimized, accelerated computing, right? Depending on what you have. So in the case of T2 micro, for example, T2 micro, this is the family, the generation, and the size. Okay, that's what it says here. Family, generation, size. This is the family of the T's. The T2 nano, T2 micro, T2 small. Okay, and 2 is the generation 2, right? And the size is micro, nano, small, medium, large. Okay. You can have, say, like says here, T is the family name, 3 is the generation number, and large is the size. Okay. So let me see if the instance, it's already passed the checks. Still initializing. Okay. Let's wait for that to finish. Okay. So based on use case, instance type, general purpose, you can have A1, M4, M5, T2, T3, compute optimized, C4, C5. Well, general purpose is for broad usage. Anything, it's just general purpose, right? When you need high performance, then it's C4, C5. If you need in-memory databases, then you use R4, R5, X1, Z1. You don't need to know these guys. It's just information, right? If you're not going to be taking the certification for developer or probably solutions architect, you don't need to know this. Not for now. Accelerated computing, it will use F1, G3, G4, P2, P3, and machine learning. You're still using machine learning. You're going to use a machine learning server or something in your EC2 instance, you use these guys. If it's going to be storage optimized, you're going to be storing things that are very heavy duty. Then you need D2, H1, and I3, distributed file systems. Okay. Instance types, network features, the network bandwidth, gigabits per second, varies by instance type. Okay. The instance type, we saw some of them already here when you create the instance. Right? It passed already. See? Let's take a look at this Elastic Load Balancer and let's register this guy with the Elastic Load Balancer. Okay? So we come here, it says instances, and it says edit instances. We're going to select this one, which is the one that is running right now. We're going to save it. It's out of service here. Instance registration is still in process. So let's wait for that to finish. Okay. Now, to maximize networking and bandwidth performance of your instance type, if you have independent instances, launch them in a cluster placement group. Enable enhanced networking. So a cluster or a placement group is something that you would choose. If I see here placement groups, it doesn't show, but it's something that in the instance type, right? You can come here, and one moment. Try to create the instance, launch the instance right here, right? And then you can select if you want to put your instances in a placement group, okay? So maybe you don't have any, but you can create one, right? If you have one, you can add them to an instance group, a placement group, right? Okay, so you can create a new placement group here. It's going to be in this. There are three types of placement groups: cluster, spread, and partition. Cluster is all the instances will be in one location, in one rack of instances, right? So, you see, right? So the load balance is working now. You see. Remember that I create a new instance. Just one moment. I want to finish this. When I create the instance, right? When I create the instance, I put a text. It was different. It was not hello, that. The text was hi, right? Hi, right? And in the security group of the instance, which I modified before, right? I chose that the only traffic that can come from come to the instance is through the elastic load balancer right here. This is the only source of traffic into my instance, right? I don't want anyone to use my IP address and access my instance directly. I want only someone to grab the IP address or the DNS of the elastic load balancer and then access my instance. So now I can have, on top of this, I can have Route 53, which will route the instance to the elastic load balancer or the region that is close to the users, right? Now I can go ahead and change this domain and put something like Dunieski Otano or something like that, you know? And then it will show this. Don't you think it's something cool, guys? That you can have an elastic load balancer that's going to be, you know, switching and switching and switching. How about this? Okay. How about this? Let me do something real cool that you understand what I'm doing here. Okay. Let me stop the instance, right? First, let me come here and copy the data. Okay. Let me copy this because I'm going to use it now for another instance, right? Now I'm going to stop it, right? I'm going to stop it because I want to change the text. And in the meantime, I'm going to create another instance, okay? And this instance, I'm going to say, server 2, okay? Perfect, servers 2. Storage, tag, config. I'm gonna use the same, right? I'm gonna use the same guy, right? That has the load balancer, perfect. And then I'm gonna launch it, right? I'm gonna use the same key. And then I'm gonna launch that one. So I come here and I have server 1 and server 2. I'm gonna come to this guy and change the text of the user data, okay? And then in here, I'm gonna say, instead of hi, I'm going to say server 1. Hey, server 1. What's going on here? It doesn't let me do it. Modify user data as text. As you user data below. Okay. Not a problem. I don't have time to do this. So what I'm going to do is terminate this instance and create a new one. Okay. So I'm going to create a new one real quick. I have more time to do that than be troubleshooting the other one. So now I'm going to say server 1. Okay. Okay. Server 1. Continue. Continue. And then here say server 1. Okay. Server 1. Perfect. Security group. Select the existing one. Okay. Launch. Perfect. So that one is much better. Okay. I'm going to view my instances. Right now I have these two guys, right? Let me call this one server 2. Server 2. Okay. Now they're both running. Let's wait for them to pass the checks, the state initializing, and I will add them to the elastic load balancer. All right, when they're ready. And then you guys can see how the elastic load balancer works in a better way. Okay, So this one is going to be removed from the last load balancer because I deleted it. And let's wait for that to happen. Okay. So the cluster placement groups, AWS. Okay. So placement groups, we can have our instances in a cluster. It could be a cluster, partition, or spread. Cluster, it packs instances close together inside an availability zone. So this strategy enables workloads to achieve the low latency network performance necessary to tightly couple node-to-node communication that is typical of HPC applications. So this is super fast, but it's less highly available because everything is in one availability zone. Okay? And it's in one rack of instances. So partition, spread your instances across logical partitions such the group of instances in one partition do not share the underlying hardware with groups of instances in different partitions. So it's more highly available. And spread strictly places a small group of instances across distinct underlying hardware to reduce correlated failures. There's no charge for creating a placement group. So this is cluster, all of them in the same availability zone altogether. This is partition, you see, in different partitions. All of them in the same availability zone, but different partitions, right? More highly available, right? And you have spread, and every single, there's only one instance per partition, okay? So it's spread throughout the availability zone, right? So you can do that, right? And then that way you can maximize network bandwidth, okay? Enhanced network types are supported on most instance types. Enhanced networking types, you can have an elastic network adapter. NA supports network speeds up to 100 gigabits per second. That's super fast. And you can have an Intel 82599 virtual function interface. And that supports speeds up to 10 gigabytes per second. So all these things, networking features that you guys don't need to know that much for this exam, but it's just information that doesn't hurt to have. Networking settings now. Go back to the instances. And now I can see that they're still, they both pass. I'm gonna go back to the load balancer and register both, okay? So when I register them, and let's see what happens, come back later, okay? Now, networking settings, we have VPC, you put the instance inside the VPC, and then you have to put it inside the subnet, right? And you make it internet accessible by putting it in a public subnet that is connected to the internet gateway, okay? Okay. When you create the instance, you can select where to put the instance, right? Specifically, what availability zone you want the instance to be in and what subnet. So you can put here availability zone 1C, and then the subnet is going to be, it's going to be availability zone 1C, and that's going to be a subnet in that availability zone. So you can put it anywhere you want. Okay. In service. So let's see the magic of this guy. Let's see it. Server 2, server 1, server 2, server 1, server 2, server 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. You see, that guy is constantly submitting, just distributing the traffic across availability zones, right? Across targets without these instances, right? Now, if I stop one instance, it becomes unhealthy. Okay, it becomes unhealthy. Let me stop server one, right? It's stopping right now, right? So right now I have 2 only. You see, I have 2 only. See, 2 only. And then if you go to the last load balancer, it says that one is unhealthy. You see, it's out of service, right? So I'm not sending traffic to server one anymore, right? Let me go back and start this guy, right? And start this guy again, right? So now it's pending, and soon it will be sending traffic to one again. For now, it's just pending, okay? And it will come back, okay? You can choose a role, right? Just in case if your instance wants to, interact with other services, you have to use a role. A role is what lets services interact with services, right? And then you can attach that role to an instance. And for example, in this case, the instance needs access to an S3 bucket. So what you have to do is come back here, right? And come to IAM, right? When you create the instance. Let me create the instance real quick, right? You come here, right? Let me go to IAM first. IAM, because the roles are created in IAM. I come to IAM and I want to create a role, right? Role, again, is what allows services to interact with services. So I'm gonna say EC2. That's the one that's gonna use this role. EC2, permissions, and I wanna say, I want this EC2 to have access to S3. So I put here S3, and then I said EC2, S3 full access. So I'm gonna attach this policy to this. I want also my EC2 to have access to DynamoDB. So I'm gonna give it DynamoDB. I want my EC2 to have access to an SQS, a queue, okay? And I want my EC2 instance to have access to CloudWatch, maybe, CloudWatch. Let me say CloudTrail. CloudTrail full access, okay? So now I'm gonna say tagging, okay? New, I'm gonna say, you see all the policies here, the install or attached. I can say EC2 role S3 Dynamo SQS CloudTrail, right? Or maybe I can say here for role, right? So EC2 for S3 DynamoDB SQS CloudTrail role, okay? I create a role, and that role has, I can say here EC2 for, and that role is right here, that contains 4 policies, right? 4 policies that I added. When I create the instance, so I can go back to the instance creation page, right? I can come here and launch an instance, right? Go back here, second step, third step. Here, it says I am role. So I want this instance to have access to the 4 services that I selected. So I just come here and look for that role that I created. It's right here, right? I select it and I continue with the creation of the instance. So now my instance can access S3, DynamoDB, SQS, CloudTrail, and it will not get an unauthorized operation error. Okay? If you want services to interact with each other, you have to create a role. So here I can say, and it begins to send traffic to 1. You see, 1, 2, because 1 is back in service, right? So you guys understand the magic of elastic load balancers? You see now?
Yes.
So I'm going to delete these two instances. I don't need them anymore. And I will terminate, just delete the load balancer. Right? Done. Okay. So I'm not going to be charged for anything. Okay, the user data, we just saw it. I don't think I have to speak much about this. This is the section when you install things, right? You can install things in your virtual machine, okay? The user data is the third step of the creation of the EC2 instance. You scroll down, it says user data, and you put a bash script there to install something at runtime, okay? And it executes this for the first time when the instance starts, okay? It can be used strategically. For example, reduce the number of custom MIs that you build and maintain. Okay. Right, that's true. Now the storage options, we can have EVS volumes, right? When you create the instance, let me close this guy. When you create the instance, right, you have the volumes here, volumes, and then you can create a volume here, right? And attach it to an instance. It's simple. You just select the type of volume, the volume type, right? And then you can encrypt it. I want to encrypt it. I would choose the key from Amazon. This is the default key that Amazon uses to encrypt, and it uses KMS, which is Key Management Service, right? And I can just create the volume. I can say name volume test or test volume, right? I just come here and just create this, and the volume has been created. It doesn't show here, but it takes a few seconds to show. Now it shows. This volume has been created. The name is test volume. And then I can attach this to an instance, but there's no instance here. I delete them all, right? They will show here. And something that you have to bear in mind, the volume has to be created in the same region, not the same region, the same availability zone as the instance that you want to attach it to. Otherwise, it will not show. It will not show, right? So this is how you create volume, right? And by the way, if you create a volume and you're not using it, or you stop the instance, you're going to be charged for that. So if you have an instance that's not being used, delete it. Don't stop it. Delete it, because you're going to incur charges for storage. Okay. You can choose compute the root volume, where you guess the operating system install, attach additional store volumes. That's what I said. Okay. For each volume, specify the size. We chose the size. Volume type, if it is general purpose, if it is IOPS, provision IOPS, or if it is throughput optimized, or if it is gold, right? And if the volume will be deleted when the instance is terminated, if encryption should be used. Okay. Well, it just depends. This one will not be deleted when the instance is terminated, because this is something that I created. But when you create an instance, okay, when you create an instance, the volume, right, the volume that you create, well, actually the volume that is created with the instance, you see, storage, this guy will be deleted with the instance unless you uncheck this, okay? Because this comes by default, right? Delete on termination. You want to uncheck this if you want to keep it. If you don't want to keep it, just leave it checked and it will disappear with the instance, okay? And then you can encrypt it and not encrypt it here. You could just leave it not encrypted. It's just your choice, okay? All right. Perfect. So you can have elastic block store, durable block level storage volume. You can stop the instance and start it again, and the data will be still be there, not a problem. But when you have instance store, which is ephemeral storage, is provided on disks that are attached to the host computer where the EC2 instance is running. Okay? That's instance store. What you need to know, guys, you need to know how to build an instance store, Amazon EC2 instance, but you need to know that instance store is ephemeral. What it means is when you stop the instance, it will disappear. Okay? The EBS volume stays there, but instance store disappears. That's why it's called ephemeral. Okay? If the instance stops, data store here is deleted. Other options for storage, not for root volume, mount on Amazon Elastic File System, EFS file system. We're gonna see storage is the one coming after this one, after this lesson. And connect to Amazon Simple Storage Service, Amazon S3. Those are other options that you can use for storing your information. We're gonna talk about storage in the next module. Here we have, it has an EBS root volume, type of the operating system. What will happen if the instance is stopped? Okay. If the instance is stopped and then started again. Well, we saw before that if you stop it, right, nothing will happen. It will stay there, right? Okay. An instance 2, if it has instance store root volume type for operating system, what will happen if the instance stops because of a user error or a system malfunction? Well, it will disappear. Right? It will disappear. That's what you need to know, guys. Block store, it will stay. Okay? Instance store disappears. It just disappears. As simple as that. Okay. So choices made by using the wizard. Well, tagging is important for cost, right? Cost. It's a label that you can assign to an AWS resource, consists of a key and an optional value. Tagging is how you can attach metadata to an EC2 instance. Potential benefits of tagging, filtering, automation, cost allocation, and access control. Okay? Those are the benefits of tagging. Security groups, we spoke about that. That's the guy that allows traffic, into the instances, right? By simply opening ports or closing ports, right? It's a set of firewall rules that control traffic to the instance. It exists outside of the instance guest operating system. Okay. Okay, this is what I did. I used my IP address to SSH into my instance. Well, the key pair is what I used to SSH into the instance, right? It's something that you have to say, you just keep in a safe place because that's the login credentials for your instance, right? It's a key pair that consists of a public key and a private key. The public key that AWS stores, and the private key is the one that you store. Okay, so AWS will save that one, and the one that I download is the private key, right? Be careful with the private key because the private key is super important, right? The public key is public, but the private is private. Okay, I think that I didn't say anything by saying that, but I said it all. The private is private and public is public. Okay. So it enables secure connections to the instance, right? And for window AMIs, you have to use PuTTY. And for Linux AMI, you can use the terminal, right? For Mac computers, right? Or for Linux computers, you can use the terminal and use SSH. But when you use Windows computers, you have to use, you know, a password administrator and the key. And also, if you want to SSH, you will have to download PuTTY and be able to do it with PuTTY. Okay? If you have a Mac computer, you have an advantage. This is the console, and of course, that's the old console. You don't need to see this because you already saw, and you have your computers, you have your accounts. You can see the new console, the new view of this. Okay. Before, it used the launch instance button used to be blue. Now it's orange, so it's different, right? So guys, let's take a break, right? Why not taking a lunch break? But before we do that, let me get to the slide 30. Okay, when I get to the slide 30, then we break for lunch. Okay. So you can launch an EC2 instance from the CLI. Okay, from the CLI by using this. Guys, you can use this. You can just put it there. Be careful. Use the key pair that exists in your instance. Don't use the 33 large because that's not in the free tier, right? And use an AMI. The AMI, you can get it from here. When you launch the instance, the first step, you can get the AMI number from here. Okay, and then you can use that to create an instance from the CLI. So you can try that. We installed the CLI already, so you guys can do it. Okay. The life cycle of the instance is simple. When you launch the instance from the CLI, from the AMI, I'm sorry, it goes into a pending state, right? And then after the pending state, it goes into running. When it's running, you can reboot it or you can stop it. Or you can stop it and hibernate it. When you stop it, it just goes to stopping state and then stopped. When you reboot it, it just reboots it and goes back running. That's what happened when I rebooted. It didn't do anything, it just continues running, right? Now, if you don't decide to stop it and you decide to terminate it, then it goes into a shutting down state, and then it goes into terminated state, right? Also, when you stop it, when it's stopped, you can terminate it. You can either start it or terminate it. If you terminate it, it goes into terminated state. Right? So that's how it works.
Does terminate mean delete?
Yes. It will show terminated for a while in your console, but it will disappear. So see all you see here, it shows terminated here. It's going to show terminated probably for 12 or maybe less hours, or maybe 24 hours, and then it disappears. But this doesn't mean anything. It's just terminated. It's not running. You're not going to be charged for anything. It just terminated, and it shows there. But you can take a look at that tomorrow. It just goes away. It is not there anymore. All right. Okay. So an elastic IP, right, is something that is very important because sometimes when you stop your instance, right, if you stop your instance, a new IP address will be assigned to you guys. A new IP address is assigned to you guys. So you don't want that. If you want everybody to find you using the same IP, right, you can have you can use the domain name and it's going to be the same all the time. But what if people try to use your IP address? If you stop the instance, you're going to have a new one. So it's going to be hard to find you through the IP address. So what guarantees that people will always use the same IP address is using an elastic IP. When you use an elastic IP, it's a static IP address, right? That you can attach, you can associate with a running instance, and then it will stay there forever. If you stop it, it stays there. If you reboot it, it will stay there, okay? So it's like it says here, when you stop an instance and then start again, the public IP address and external DNS hostname will change, okay? It will change. DNS name, everything. right? So it's going to be a little hard for people to change it, but the private doesn't change. The private IP address and the internal DNS hostname does not change, but the public does. So it's better to use an elastic IP. So it's always found. Okay. Wait. It can be associated with instances in the region as needed and remains allocated to your account until you choose to release it. Okay. So you can remap it to another instance. You stop an instance, then you can remap that IP address to another instance. So you will never lose it. It will always be there in your account until you decide to release it and let it go. Okay, guys, I think that we can break for lunch. Do you have any questions?
No questions.
Okay. So let's break for lunch and let's meet back here at 1:20. How about that? Not 1:20, 1:30. Okay.
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 That's good.
So let's see here.